Effortless Mindfulness with Loch Kelly. Experience support for awakening as the next stage of human development through micro-meditations and conversations about non-duality, neuroscience, and contemporary psychology. Welcome. So glad you can join me today. We're going to dive right in to explore what is effortless mindfulness and how do we relieve suffering and access natural positive qualities that are already here within us. So today we're going to do a show and tell. So usually we do a tell and show, right? Just give a talk and then do a meditation or a glimpse practice. But today what I'd like to do is really explore in depth what is effortless mindfulness, how it's different, and start with an experience. So the first experience is called an inquiry. So all I'll say at the beginning is an inquiry is not just a way of looking into your mind or looking to thought, but allowing yourself to understand the inquiry and then look or feel or sense what's here in a holistic way, I'll say at first, yeah? So here's the inquiry. What's here now when there's no problem to solve? What the change is from where you were to feel the type of consciousness that becomes more primary and how quickly it happens. Now, this may have worked for you and may have had a sense of some shift or some change. Maybe you don't know what it is, or maybe it didn't work. So we'll continue to show you under the hood of what's happening here. That's the approach that I'll be taking with you. So that inquiry is a core way of both allowing the obstacle or the obscuration to relax and then to address the bottom and the top root of those two binds that keep us from recognizing our natural awake consciousness. The top bind is that thinker, the brain's what's called the small sense of self or ego center, or from neuroscience, you could say it is the negativity bias, which is the brain's trying to help us survive and be safe by continually scanning for danger, right? So looking to the past and projecting worst case scenarios into the future, right? Anyone done that ever? So when that brain, which is trying to help us, and when this small self is focused in this problem solver, then all energy and wattage of our brain and our sense of identity is focused on the physical, mental, emotional survival, and is contracted in a way that it's looking in the outward to the physical environment. Is there anything wrong? What's the problem out here? Or looking inside if there's an alarm that goes off with pain or worry or fear, but that because it then looks within that small self, the problem solver is actually discovered to be the problem. A quote I love from Einstein is, "You can't solve the problem on the level it was created." So this effortless mindfulness that I discovered, was fortunate enough to stumble upon, the premise is that there's an already awake consciousness that's here. And so the word effortless mindfulness doesn't mean we make no effort, but that when we make a small shift immediately, like a background-foreground shift of our consciousness, then we discover that there's an effortless awareness that's spontaneously maintaining, and it's this field, this feeling of open mind and open heart that not only are we aware of, but that we are aware as, and then we're aware from. So let's continue to revisit this inquiry and expand it a bit. Slow it down, turn it over, look around it so that you can see for yourself whether this is true. So the first thing to say is that this direct practice, the approach is really more scientific in that we'll give an hypothesis or a premise and then an experiment like this inquiry, and then you'll report the results. And then we can do it again and we can fine tune it a bit. But it's not something that you need to believe or imagine. You need to not look to an expert or a book, but look back within. And that what we'll do here, as we explore in this podcast and in other forms, is to give you the tools of where to look, what to look for, and particularly what not to look for, and maybe more importantly, what to look with. So with that, let's go back again. So the premise is that there is already this operating system. That's not just a meditation state, this awake consciousness, this true nature, this open-hearted awareness that has been valued throughout cultures and throughout history as perhaps the most precious human capability. And what we're saying here is, in this effortless mindfulness approach, that it doesn't need to be created or developed, but simply accessed, that the potential is already here. Similar to most people would have the inherent ability to balance on a bicycle, but you aren't likely to just jump on and be able to ride. There's some little learning and unlearning and tuning, but because it's natural, it's available, it's teachable, it's learnable, this balancing. And once you get it, you can it starts to use implicit memory, and body, mind starts to rewire. So if we tend to look for safety with our small self, and we're scanning for danger, which keeps us contracted, if there is another way of being aware that is safe and functional, which is perhaps what Tai Chi masters train to do, to be through physical effort to upgrade this ability to be physically safe, and then we're going to carry it into emotionally safe, mentally safe, and compassionately safe. Yeah. So this operating system is small, scanning for danger. It is self-referencing, and you can feel it now even as you're trying to understand the words I'm saying, trying to make sense, trying to understand, checking with memory, which is all good functional activity. And we're not going to lose that. So when I ask this inquiry, which you know already, what's here now when there's no problem to solve, it's not that we're going into la la land. We're not spiritually bypassing into going beyond problems. There's no problems. Everything is fine. We're actually doing the opposite. We're upgrading the problem solver to a sense of being okay, a sense of being that then can do and respond rather than react. So with this first description of what the problem is, which is that self-referencing, scanning for danger, looking inside, looking outside, the second premise is that there's a feeling of a more open awareness, kind of feeling if you were to walk to the top of a hill and look out over the hill at the sky, feel the mountains and the trees, that feeling that you feel when you're in the zone or in the flow, that you feel at the end of a long meditation or long meditation retreat, is here now. And let's see if we can shift into that. The key is that it can't be known by the mind or the problem solver. the ego or the self. It can't be known with attention. It's already here, so it's almost either dropping or relaxing, like taking the hood off or taking a pair of glasses off from that small view, or feeling that your awareness is actually identified with this small sense of self, this problem solver, and then it literally unhooks or opens. So it may feel like it relaxes and the new is revealed, or there's a sense of something immediately opening to be aware of itself as this more awareness-based than thought-based knowing. So let's try again, and I'll add a few next stages of this inquiry to see how it's already including everything, embodiment and open-heartedness. So here we go again. No big thing. You don't need to have your eyes open or closed or be sitting in any particular position or even be in a quiet place. Maybe not driving. Might be recommended. However, you could be on a subway and listening to this, and it would work as well once you get a sense for it. So here we go. Understanding the words, and then letting the words, going beyond the words to an awareness-based knowing, and then not checking back with thought to know. So what's here now when there's no problem to solve? So just letting the problem solver relax and just sensing or opening, feeling more the space and the non-thought-based alert awareness that's open. And now what's it like to be aware of this? And then what's it like when you rest as this awareness that's here now? And then noticing, is there a boundary or a color, shape, or location? What's it like to not go back to thought and yet be alert? So what's it like resting as this awareness to be curious about what's arising as movement or energy or sensation or thought? Just curious whether that movement is moving through this field of awareness, or just being curious right where it's arising, whether it feels like it's interdependent, whether it feels like more of an ocean of awareness arising as waves of movement. So resting as this which is here when there's no problem to solve. What's the relationship to movement, sensation, thought, your body, and the room? So just feel that interdependent, interconnected, natural awareness and aliveness, simultaneous mind that's here. And notice that you're both spacious and pervasive. So as you take a little deeper breath, and then just let out a sigh. No big deal. The key is, the habit is to go back to thinking and go back to create a thinker. So you may pop back there, no big deal. Just see if you can learn to return and feel what it is that's returning or how that happens. Is it by relaxing or unhooking or what's called familiarizing with this clarity and openness and embodiment? Notice the relationship between outside and inside, almost this seamless sense of being. See how you feel toward your body and thoughts and any parts, emotions that may arise. So rather than commenting on them from the problem solver or blending with them, just welcome all movement, emotion, thought, and subpersonalities that arise. And just feel like you're the welcomer, that you are this open-hearted, compassionate self or no self consciousness that feels okay and has a kind of fabric of safety. And just curiously, where are you aware from? Just notice both the centerless quality, nowhere, but then also notice the everywhere and the interconnected and the here. So just all at onceness, this being that doesn't need to think to be, and yet is alert, could respond. So just notice, is there anything you need to get in order to be okay? Or is there an okayness here? And is there anything, even as you're welcoming what's arising, does anything need to really be pushed away? Or is there enough capacity and compassion and curiosity inherent within this open-hearted awareness to welcome and feel that the awareness can't be hurt because it has more space and more subtle dimension? I'm just curious as your consciousness moves, maybe back moments to try to find that old ground of thinker and protective parts or other parts of you that have been more repressed or in the shadows begin to rise. Just see if you have the capacity. So as that problem solver critic and the mental checker, am I doing it right? Is this okay? Do I know what I'm doing? Relax. Notice the wisdom that knows, first by not knowing, and then by being in a kind of discriminating intelligence of heart knowing or wisdom mind that processes at the speed of awareness. So just notice that as those two parts, protective manager parts, relax, the problem solver and the mental checker that you go back to see if you're doing it right or if everything's okay, and you drop into this new ground of being. So this may be something you can just consider or listen to, or maybe you've been with me in this, or you can listen to it again. But the sense is that in effortless mindfulness, as you heard the different languaging, is that it's here already, that it has this great capacity of awareness and energy and embodiment, interconnection and loving capacity. So welcome to listen to this again or listen with a friend and discuss. And I'll look forward to meeting you again here on the Effortless Mindfulness podcast for more explorations in consciousness. Wishing you a wonderful day and continued unfolding of your journey and your precious human birth. Enjoy. We offer this podcast freely thanks to the donations of kind listeners like you. If you'd like to be a supporter of this podcast, please visit lochkelly.org/donate. We are grateful for your tax-deductible donation.